Hello, it's Karen Burniston here with an assembly video for one of our die sets. This is die number 1046, the Circle Charm pop-up, and you can check out all of our designs at karenburniston.com. The Circle Charm pop-up has a lot of fun features. A pivoting left circle that will pivot to the inside and give you double duty decoration. You've got an open frame that you can suspend items in. And then it also has a lot of variations. So we'll start today in the video by making sort of the standard Circle Charm pop-up, making this card, but then I'll also show you at the end of the video a second type of card that you can make with this die, which is your double pivot. And we do have several add-on charm sets that work perfectly with the Circle Charm pop-up. I'll start with a standard A2 size card, which is 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the center for folding. And then to that, I'm going to add panels of pattern paper that I've cut using the largest rectangle from the Rectangles Crosshatch set. And for the pieces that are on the inside left panel and the front panel, I want to make sure I'm only using my adhesive around the perimeter. And that way when I cut that circle, that pivoting circle, I can remove that pattern paper from the circle. The Circle Charm pop-up includes 11 individual dies, and the one that cuts the pivoting circle is this one. So you line up that tab inside the fold of the card. It can go anywhere along the fold. I'm just choosing about center today. And you just make sure that the end of that die is right in the fold of the card. And then I'm a fan of using some temporary removable tape to hold that in place. You can use any die cutting machine that can accommodate a wafer thin die. I am using a Sizzix Big Shot today. Now I am asking a lot of a wafer thin die to be able to cut through 2 layers of pattern paper and cardstock in one shot. So I'm just going to turn it over and check and make sure that I've got enough through the paper that I can clip it out of there. Otherwise I could run it through a few more times, or if I needed to, I could remove a layer of paper from underneath the die, put it back into place and run it again. Now unfortunately my temporary tape took a little bit of my paper with it when I took it off on the left side there, so I'll have to deal with that issue later. Okay, so my die cut through the first layer of pattern paper and the cardstock, no problem. It had a little bit of trouble with my final piece of pattern paper, but luckily I'm clipping that circle out anyway. That's why I used just the adhesive around the perimeter. So as long as I get my scissors just under the pattern paper, so I'm making sure that I'm not going to clip my cardstock at all, then I should be able to get that paper out of there, even though the die didn't perfectly cut through all of the inside parts of that pivoting circle. So taking that paper out reduces the bulk on the back of the circle. You don't actually see that side at all because it's this side that pivots. And this side I decided I also wanted to remove the pattern paper. So once again, important that I go in with my scissors and only clip paper. I definitely don't want to clip cardstock. And that, of course, is optional. If I had preferred to have a patterned circle, I could have just used adhesive everywhere when I put that rectangle down in that first step. There are a lot of decorator circles in this set, including this one, which is the ring and large circle. It cuts it at the same time, so you get 2 pieces at once. And there's also a emboss and stencil feature on that die, so before you pop the ring out, if you want to have those stitch marks, you can just go in with a pen or you can sponge ink through it and add those stitch marks. So this is just decorative, so it is optional, but it is sized, that ring, to fit right around your pivoting circle opening. So that's a great spot to put that ring if you like that look. And then that large circle that was cut at the same time as the ring, that works wonderfully in the background of the card on the right. And if you want it to line up perfectly with the pivoting circle, you don't have to eye it. You can actually place it face down over the pivoting circle so that you get it perfectly in the opening, then add your adhesive all over the back, and then close the card against it. And that will transfer that circle into the perfect position to line up with that circle in the closed position. And that circle can also get a ring, and I chose a red color in matching the berries, and then I decided I liked it so well that I was going to cover up that pretty stitched one that I just added. I've used the die that cuts the tabbed ring, and I've cut 2 of those. And then on one of the rings, I'm going to remove the tabs. And then for the other tabbed circle, I will work the folds. So a mountain fold on the left and a valley fold on the right. And then where that's going to attach in the card is the left tab will glue behind the pivoting circle, and then the right tab will glue in that circle out on the right. You want a strong adhesive. I'll use my fine tip bottle filled with Lineco Neutral pH adhesive, and we do sell both of those items on our website. Now, rather than just try and guess where that will line up with the circle, I'm going to pivot my circle around, tuck the tab down, and then make sure that the ring is lined up perfectly on top of that pivoting circle. And that way I know for sure that the ring will be hidden in the closed position, because I'm basically working here in the closed position of that circle. When it opens, it'll pivot this way. But in the closed position, it's all stacked up like this. And when the card is closed, you won't see the ring then. Okay, to attach the other tab, again, I would stick with everything stacked up in that closed position, fold the tab over, and then add the adhesive there on the tab. So then just holding that tab down so it doesn't move, I can close the right side of the card against that exposed adhesive and give it a good press. Then opening the card up, the pop-up will start to work. That ring will pull that circle over. You can see where that tab just attached there on that big blue circle. Then I'll use one of the other decorator circles in the set to cut the one that will perfectly fit on the big circle and cover up the tab. Okay, so that completes the mechanical portions of the card, and now it's just decoration. I like to suspend my floating item on the other ring, so the one where I cut the tabs off, and I'm just adding some small glue dots to two opposite sides of the ring and then suspending a piece of clear fishing line into those glue dots. The die set includes 3 nice generic options for suspending on your line. You can do the butterfly, the heart, or the star, and of course any of our add-on charm sets will also fit perfectly in that ring. And my favorite is to cut that item twice and glue it back to back around the fishing line. That way it can spin in the card and it'll look great from all sides. So today I'll use the butterfly. I've cut the wings out of a glitter paper and then the body out of the brown cardstock, and then just glued the body over the wings. Then what I'll do is coat one completely with adhesive, put it underneath the fishing line, and then glue the other one over the top, so that those two butterflies are glued back to back with the fishing line sandwiched between them. Then I just add glue all the way around the ring and attach that to the pop-up ring. So it just makes for a fun effect to have the pop-up with an item just suspended floating in the opening. Completely optional, but a great add-on set for the Circle Charm pop-up would be the Circles Crosshatch nested shape dies, because it'll just add to your circle collection. And then you can start combining those circles to make even more pieces to fit your Circle Charm pop-up. So for this ring, I used the thin ring that comes with the Circle Charm pop-up, but I kept the paper taped with temporary tape to the outer negative space and then cut it again using a slightly larger crosshatch circle. So now what that is 2 rings that are actually taped together right now with temporary tape. That'll give me the opportunity to add my tape runner around that ring, get it onto my card, and then remove the temporary tape. And that just gives me a wider ring, plus it gives me that crosshatch detail. And I also decorated my pivoting circle, and those pieces all came with the Circle Charm pop-up. Remember, I have that oopsie on the left side of my card, so that's a great spot for a decorative strip of pattern paper. And then I'll just put one on the other side to make it match. And then to finish out my interior decoration, I added Thinking of You from Word Set 1, as well as some additional circles and the heart from the set. I like that the Thinking of You is visible when the card is closed, but not totally legible, so it just looks like an interesting detail until you open it. And then one last little circle so that I have a place to sign the card. My finished card is just a standard A2. It folds quite flat and will mail for a single stamp. Okay, let's look at a fun variation. This one is the double pivot. Card size is always up to you. I decided on a 4 1/4 inch square card, which means that I started with 8.5 by 4 1/4, scored in the middle for folding. And then to that, I added my pattern paper just like I did on the first card, this time using squares from the Squares Crosshatch die set. And on all 3 decorative squares, I used my adhesive only around the perimeter. So rather than cut it in the usual manner inside the card, this time I'm going to keep the card folded, and I will line up the edge of my pivoting circle die with the fold of the card. So just right at the fold of the card, I'll center my circle kind of top to bottom and then use my temporary tape to hold it in place. Now we can't expect a wafer thin die to be able to cut through all of those layers in a single or even double pass, but if you roll it through twice, what it'll do is it'll cut down through the first two layers of the card, but also leave a perfect indentation in the right side of the card, so then you can open up the card, place that die down into that indentation, and run it through again. Just like in our first card, I used adhesive only around the perimeter of the pattern paper, which means that I can go in and making sure I'm only cutting pattern paper, remove them from the circles. And once again, I'll combine die. So I'll use the ring die from the Circle Charm pop-up with the largest crosshatch circle from the Circles crosshatch, and that gives me this nice wide ring that can go on the front of the card. So that's both decorative, but then it also does something else for me. In using my die set on such a thick card, it really pressed down. You can see the indentation from the die. So by putting this piece of pattern paper over the top, I will disguise that as well as add decoration. I plan to hang charms from my ring, so I will add a hole and a piece of baker's twine to the top of the ring first. That'll just make it easier to tie that charm on later. And then for this technique, I do need a center fold to my ring. So by just lining up the tabs on both sides, then I can just press that fold right into the ring in the center. Now to add my ring to the card, it's a good idea to have that center fold be oriented as a mountain and then two valleys for the tabs themselves. Then I can add glue to the tabs. And for this technique, it's actually pretty easy since you have two circles to just go in there and get that ring in between the two circles and just eye it that it's lined up well with the circles and as far as top to bottom. You could do that thing where you pivot the circle and collapse everything up into the closed position, but I've found that this technique, it's pretty easy just to eye it. To train this one to fold, the easiest I think is to start your circles pivoting to the outside by putting your fingers through the opening, and then as you close the card, you can easily pivot both circles to rotate around. And in the closed position, you'll see a little bit of your ring, and so the way to combat that is actually to reverse that center fold so that it is a valley, and then your ring will collapse up in between the two circles and you will not see it. And then to finish this card, I just need to decorate. So what I used are the Sweet Treats charms. And one thing I did to match the paper is I used the stick from the popsicle charm on the bottom of the watermelon charm and also moved the hang hole from the side of the watermelon up to the top just so that it would match that watermelon popsicle that was in that cute photo play paper. And the greeting of my sweet friend is a combination of sweet from word set 6 and my and friend from word set 1. There really are a lot of possibilities with the circle charm pop-up. Here's another one I did. I just made a shaped card and then actually made the pivoting circle also a ring, and then those lanterns from the camping charms line up perfectly in that closed position. Now let's look at a few cards by our very talented design team. I love this card by Kelly Booth where she used the flamingo charm from the beach charms to perfectly match some pattern paper, mixed in the crosshatch circles, the numbers set for a very cool personalized birthday card. And you can always use the circle charm pop-up with your stamp. So this is another card by Kelly Booth with her beautiful coloring on stamped images. And speaking of stamps, Frances Byrne made this amazing card where she stamped and colored the entire background. For this card, Helen Cryer cut a circle into the back side of the card to make it also into a ring where she could suspend a charm. This one uses a combination of the beach charms and the Sweet Treats charms. Here's a great card by Karen Aiken using the double pivot technique for a teacher thank you card. And for this card, also by Karen Aiken, she tucked the tab for the ring to the inside and then just left a nice solid area on the right side of her card. And Karen Aiken also made a card where she used a vertical orientation. So there's just so many ways to customize this die set. The Circle Charm pop-up will be available in stores and on our website starting June 2018. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBurniston.com, where you can find out information about purchasing these dies, as well as links to all my other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.